Hey guys, before we get this party started, I want to give a shout out to our friends and our sponsors, Live Nation Colorado. And this special interview this week is with Chef Drake Leonards from a restaurant. It's called Eunice in Houston, Texas. He'll be joining Chef Troy Guard for the Mardi Gras Denver party next Tuesday. So for those that are listening, you can buy tickets right now by going over to nightout.com, checking out the Mardi Gras Denver page. VIP tickets are $65. It includes free cocktails, meet and greets with the chefs, snacks for everybody involved, and then the GA prices are $45. I think they let you in about an hour later. So the VIP, if there's still any available, juice is definitely worth the squeeze. So definitely give them a try. And then obviously, always don't be shy. Go follow Live Nation CO, Fillmore Den, Summit, Marquee Theaters. We have a huge gauntlet of concerts coming up this month and for the months coming ahead. We had a big meeting with them last week. We're still in love with each other, so we'll still be working together. And I think y'all are going to be excited about some of the fun stuff we have coming along. So be sure you're following them on the internet, at Instagram, at Live Nation CO, at Fillmore Den. And if you get the chance, I know that our podcast sucks audio-wise, editing-wise, productivity-wise. If you wouldn't mind, go to subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. It helps us when we're trying to negotiate with sponsors, so we'd really appreciate it. I got a lot of cool guests that are going to be coming down the pike. As y'all know, Chris fucked his arm up, so he's hit or miss on his reliability because he can only touch himself barely. So let's get this party started. Chef, we appreciate it. Chris, we hope you feel better soon, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the Mardi Gras party next week. Let's go.
The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
As sort of the last southern city, I think that there's so many people with Louisiana roots. And I've sat in this, I've walked this dining room here at Eunice, and I have seen and met more people from Gaydon and Opelousas and Lake Arthur and Baton Rouge, Denham Springs. I mean, all over the state of Louisiana, all up and down I-10, Houma, all of these places. And there's just so many people that come here for work and business, and the commute's really easy. And it's just an extension kind of Louisiana, I feel like, in a sense. But
it's
also,
like Louisiana West for you?
Yeah, it is, but also I think, and I say it's kind of this new Creole city of the South. It reminds me of, maybe not that I was around then, but in the 1800s, as New Orleans, as the Port of Orleans was starting to take in all of these people from Germany and France and Spain and England and Africa and all these places, Houston is kind of doing that same thing now through business and through all of the things that are going on here and through the port of Houston. And so you see all these great ingredients, not only the people that contribute, that bring their cultures from around the world, but also the access to all these ingredients that maybe necessarily you wouldn't have had before because there's a demand for them, because there's people from all over the world. So, a lot of those boats come to the port of Houston and bring those things with them. So they've become kind of local and native to Houston area as well. So we can combine kind of what we saw from the, I say you put a 150-mile radius around Houston, or 150-mile radius around Houston, you get the Mississippi, you get nearly to the Mississippi River, for sure the Atchafalaya Basin, right? And then you get to the hill country in Austin, you got Galveston Bay, and you go north as well. So you get a bunch of different access to a bunch of different things, but you also get fresh seafood that we grew up with, right? You still get access to some of the foods and producers and people that I've used a long time and made relationships with in Louisiana. But also we get to meet new farmers and new people from between here and the hill country, which also is a different climate and the growing season's a little different as well. So that all comes into Houston, and we're just fortunate to be able to use that to create kind of our version of the food that we grew up with,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, it's the third or fourth largest city in the country. I mean, and so I don't ever visit Houston like to hang out, and I have some friends down there, but I feel like it is like you mentioned, it's an extension of, like Louisiana. Like I imagine the LSU crowd is probably pretty strong, especially and apparent after the championship. But
Absolutely.
And the oil and gas industry is very big. I mentioned Homa, and it gave me a flashback. I did sales for a company that did like OSHA, like safety gear and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I used to have to go down there, and it was roughly around the time of kind of when oil and gas prices kind of dipped. It was a couple of years ago, and so a lot of those smaller companies were either laying off or getting bought out. And so it was. I was down in Homa, and the food down there was just fucking immaculate. Now, obviously, it wasn't like a place I wanted to be 30 years old. I want to move down to Homa, Louisiana. But it's like right there, with the Venice area where you can get dank ass fish, and you mentioned the fresh seafood, and that's one thing. While you can get sushi and shit like that, that's fresh out here, you don't see a regular play besides the raw oyster bar. We don't see the use of crawfish, or even you mentioned Creole. Are you more of a Creole guy or a Cajun guy in your cooking style?
Yeah,
Tomatoes?
I think. Yeah, well, you know what? I like to do both. I try to stick to some of the traditional things that I grew up seeing in Eunice and right on the Prairie Cajun. And so a lot of meat, didn't grow up with so much seafood, right? But I went to school in Thibodeau, which is just about 15 miles north of Homa. So
I know where Thibodeau is.
That's it. So just about 15 miles.
I know where
north
Eunice
of the coast.
also, but yeah.
And so, so I picked up kind of different styles of cooking along the way. And so I try to incorporate that into my cooking when need be. And so I definitely think there's a difference. Now, I do think, in 2020, being now with so much information, those styles have crossed over, right? That country cooking of the Cajun Prairie has also influenced homes and chefs in New Orleans, and kind of the finer sort of what people would consider the Creole food. The European kind of food of New Orleans has also crossed over into Eunice and the surrounding areas as well. So I think now it definitely runs together, as so many people have crossed over. But I love to toast a little tomato paste and different things. I just love the sweetness that it brings. I love a little touch of acidity that it brings as well.
I don't discriminate against tomatoes. Like Cochon, if I recall, in New Orleans, and I reference New Orleans because I live there, and Baton Rouge, I was there for Christmas, and I visit sparingly, but I felt so Cochon has tomato paste in their jambalaya, and it really sets it off. It's just, obviously there is a difference, but like you mentioned, they kind of all have come together. But I guess a crucial question I have to ask would be, what's your stance on tomatoes, not only in gumbo, because when I hear people that put it in there, it kind of we grew up with a really dark roux, and then my second question would be, what's your stance on okra? Because I feel that okra is a staple in gumbo, but that's kind of how I always was. That was the differentiator for me growing up, was the difference between Cajun and Creole cuisine was the addition of tomatoes, and it was most regularly seen in a gumbo, so.
Yeah. Listen, ultimately, who am I to judge, right? And if you're going to make a pot of gumbo for me, or if your mother, your grandmother, or anybody's going to cook, I don't care. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to judge you, right? Somebody's going to offer me a warm bowl of gumbo and something cold to drink. I'm not judging, and I'm not here to judge, and neither do I care. I don't traditionally put tomatoes in my chicken and sausage gumbo. I like to put potato salad in it, right? And I love to take okra in late summer when there's an abundance of it, and cook it down. And if I have it, I put it in. And if I don't sweat it, right? I'm all about it, especially at home, especially with my friends. We just used, I think, to me, Cajun, Creole, all these cuisines, you use what you have to make what you need, right? And so to people that say, well, if I don't have it, I can't cook it. Listen, if I got one onion, I use one onion. If I got a bell pepper, I use it. If I have a little celery, I will. And if I don't have it, guess what? I won't use it, right? So that's just the way it is. If I have okra, I'll use it. But it's not going to stop the gumbo, nor does it necessarily the only thing that make the gumbo. And so, like I said, I put okra in my gumbo here. and I like it when I have it, and but I don't stress either way. I think that's the biggest thing about so many people are so worried about the specifics of it. And I think just to me, just the specifics of cooking for people and gathering around the table and having people in our home, whether it's in our restaurant or whether it's in my personal home, that's what matters to me, right? What's in the damn pot is irrelevant. So
yeah, I mean, and I like how you mentioned, like what you have. Like I think a very big staple in what Stoned Appetit does, and we talk about it all the time, like guilty pleasures, late night snacks. What do you go for in the fridge? And it's, working with what you got is a great concept to have. Like if I don't have the celery, then, the celery's not making it in that time. But I love that mindset. That's a great concept. You mentioned, so I have we call it Pea on Me, as in like recipes. And it's a group of Southerners, New Orleans folks, a couple restaurateurs from the South. And it's a bunch of our buddies. And so we all talk about recipes and show pictures of food. And we literally got on the discussion of potato salad and gumbo just the other day. So when you mentioned that, because I think that is also a regional thing, not necessarily Cajun versus Creole, but I think the potato salad, like it's not a prominent or a regularly seen thing around the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so to speak. Like I feel like that is almost like, and I remember eating in Lafayette, and I think that was like, they ask you, do you want a scoop of rice or potato salad on top of your gumbo? And I was like, that it just kind of throws a wrench in you. But potato salad actually fucks really hard when it's in the gumbo. It's like it's pretty nicely, it's a nice addition. So for those that are listening that haven't actually tried that, we thoroughly recommend it.
Yeah, I listen. I love it, and so we serve it. So we do a little, we took the gumbo that we all come to kind of grown up and love, and listen. Gumbo at my house growing up was one chicken to feed 10 people, right? And it was a little chicken and a lot of broth and a good dark roux and, like I said, little okra, little whatever you had, little sausage, little tasso maybe if you had it. But so here we make the sausage, we smoke chickens, and so we take all the skin of the chicken and sort of make these little chicken cracklings. Because my favorite way I ate it growing up, so we take our chicken cracklings and we serve it with a little a little potato salad on the side, and we crush up those chicken cracklings and kind of sprinkle it on our potato salad to give it a little texture. And it definitely is a regional thing. It seems like it's something that was passed down. So if you grew up with it in your household, you'll continue to use it. But if it's not something you saw in your household, you didn't use it. I meet people all the time that say, "Holy smokes." It's amazing that you do that because that's how my grandmother, that's how my mother, that's how I grew up with it. And then I meet some people and say, hell, I'm from this part of Louisiana, and that's crazy. I've never seen that in my life. So it definitely is a regional thing. I think it's a household thing. I'll never forget the first time I saw eggs floated in gumbo, and home with Thibodeau sort of thing. And that kind of all goes hand in hand, but it's about what you have. Again, it's about, never forget that gumbo was started as a way to feed a bunch of people and kind of stretch a soup to stretch and nourish. And so if you had a few chickens and an egg or a couple of eggs, it made it work, right? And so I think the potato salad is just something maybe from the German influence, kind of where I grew up on the near the German coast. And so there were a lot of settlers around Roberts Cove, and maybe that's where all those potatoes and things came in, and people always had a little potato salad in their gumbo, but it was traditional for us.
Dude, so I guess it may have been college football season or something of another, and I was obviously watching like the SEC network or something of the nature, and I saw a commercial about New Orleans, and it said that like the early influencers were all like Italian and shit like that, and I was like, and it's kind of got that presumptuous like, everyone thinks it's obviously French influence because it is, but like there's so many different, like folks that are tied because it was like, the OG port city and like a large, like, stopping point for those that came over. Like it's got so many different influences down in Louisiana that you kind of get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And my mom calls it gradu, which I think is also, a Louisiana term. But it's just like, it's fantastic how they've all been able to kind of mince together and like blend together. And I guess, like with folks going out from the Louisiana basin afterwards, it's kind of been able to shed similar, like now you're taking the flavors of the Lafayette region and, I call it the I-10 corridor, but right there on the Cajun Navy area.